Yes.
Flat.
They don't contribute to maintenance.
I have to ask you how your in-laws deal with, I'm wondering about that.
Oh, how their visit?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really nice. We had a really good time. They really actually enjoyed it quite a bit.
So the visit was a rousing success, we're glad they're going home.
Yeah, but it was like, you know, it was like really busy, so it was like having them, it was fun and nice, but it was still a lot of stuff, and then it was the end of school and still a lot of stuff, and it's been one of those months. How did the wedding go?
That's great, we have another one, it's 10 days from today. Our oldest grandson, 28. Finally figured out how to get a girl to say yes. So let's see, the 21st,
Next meeting?
that's the day I come back. The wedding's on the 17th, so I'm not sure I'll be back. That's right.
That's fast.
I'm not gonna be here for the next meeting. If you're not being here, we might not, there might not be quorum.
That'd be good.
So we'll see what happens.
21st?
You're not gonna be here on the 21st,
I would be late, I couldn't like.
yeah, I mean, because there's still quorum with the other four, but if anyone else can't make it. Can you not make it on the 21st?
Oh,
I could not make it.
Busy.
Where are you choosing? My sister, my wife, those are
My birthday's next week. That's stationary plan. So I'll be spending my birthday in the stationary.
That is really exciting. Someone's going to be, are we ready to go? Okay, we're ready to call the meeting to order.
So I told my family, if you come, that's my
This is
present.
the one that's the 15th. Yes, this is the one that we requested. They have to do
Yeah.
I will do it. Yes, of course, because we need to start our meeting. Cheryl wanted a second before we got going.
younger than my second.
I just wanted to let you know, we have.
Commissioners.
Maybe wondering, maybe not, why we have the cookies. Today is Jim's birthday, and also for him, he's this important enough to come and join us on this special day. So happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
I survived a hike with grandkids, I'll have you know. Dry Creek. It's not dry, it's wet.
Okay, let's get started with the items on our agenda. 3.1. I'm on 3.1, but that's whatever.
Yeah,
You
the
do your
first
thing.
Sounds good. So this is a project you're all very familiar with now. 800 North and State, they're coming back for rezoning the front properties to C2, so there's little bits of C3 in there. And then the back to completely C3, and then adding the use for the transitional treatment homes to the C3 zone, so that the women and children's center would be located. This is our vicinity map and what the zoning currently is looking like. Here is the concept plan. Zoning, and this is the new proposed zoning, so keeping that back half C3, going back towards the other C3 area as well as back towards the residential, and then the front area where those proposed 3 lots are being C2. And then here is the land use code for the transitional treatment home, showing being permitted in the C3 zone. And just for reference, these areas are the other C3 areas in the city. So the upper one is right next to this site, just going further west. And the lower one is the Smiths complex right across the street from here. Adding that use does make that an allowed use in both of those areas or anything else that ever is rezoned to C3. We just wanted to make sure you had seen where they were throughout the city. There has been some comments from engineering pertaining to cross access. The current site plan shows the cross access to the south properties, should they ever be redeveloped, only more towards the west. And on their original site plan, not site plan, concept plan, sorry, it's more towards the middle. When it comes time for site plan approval, engineering would like to see the cross access more towards the middle to make sure that those southern properties, should they be redeveloped, have good access to them. That will be addressed formally at the site plan level, but if you would like to make a recommendation as part of the conditions for in your recommendation today, that is all right as well.
Okay, that was one of the questions I had pulled out on that, because it was like this, and I'm like, okay, does this go with the site
Yeah,
plan?
it's a little confusing.
Does it go with that? So thank you.
So one of the challenges is there's not a specific ordinance requirement requiring that cross access, that we can require them at site plan approval if they were opposed to it and we're not willing to cooperate with our needs for the future, or what we think our needs are for the future. And so having a condition in your having a recommendation in your motion, recommending the council add that as conditioned, they could then add that to the rezone ordinance, and then that would be required by law because it's within the ordinance.
Okay. And is that because there's not like, it's not like on the street connector master plan or on
It's
something
not
else?
currently in
Yeah.
the
I looked and it wasn't, and I was wondering, when was the last time that was updated?
2014.
Before me.
Yeah, it seemed,
It's asking for access from there.
yes, they're asking to move the access
So-
to the middle of the property.
So
Here's what it
So
is
if this gets
currently on the
redeveloped, there's
concept plan.
connection.
So it would be having a connection to connect down here, should it redevelop someday.
Yeah, just like there's the.
So to get to it through the same parking lot instead of having to go back out on the street.
Yeah, because that property there, I know the owner really well, that you're asking for
Down here.
in the middle, yeah, how is that going to impact his property if we
So
put
it
him in
won't currently connect through, if I understand. It would just be if they ever were to sell or decide to do something else with the southern property, then they could connect it.
If they sell it, then they have to connect.
Yeah, but that's likely an advantage for them.
No, it's not, the land is small,
It was
It's not like
connected to
anything.
any of this stuff.
but
We want it to be more connected to any of the properties on the south if they choose to sell and redevelop.
the problem is if they choose to sell, they're forced to connect.
Yeah, and that increases access and vehicular access to the property.
But only if that's what they want,
This is the
because
same
they're
problem.
locked on their.
This is the same problem I have. Guys, I'm not gonna be okay with the owner having, if they redevelop, they're forced to have access. This is the same issue I had with my properties on State Street. It became legal, non-conforming, couldn't sell to the same business. I mean, this is force handing a private citizen that he has to sell to somebody just like him. Or if they redevelop to anything else, even if they add an additional unit, if they increase something, if they redevelop in anything even regarding their own business, they have to give you access.
Again, the recommendation is up
So
to
yeah, I
you
guess
guys to
I'm
have.
not following you.
So if he
I
sells,
guess
if he sells the property to somebody, he's a body shop. If he sells the property to a body shop, he doesn't have to give you access at all, right? But if he sells to somebody that said, I don't like it being a body shop, I wanna do something else
And build.
and build. Or if it's a body shop that wants to build a different body shop on the property. Like they don't like the old building, they have to put a new building, they have to give you access, because that's a new code,
And you're
right?
saying that's fair or unfair?
That's unfair.
Okay.
Or even if they want to put additional stuff on that.
If he were to build a body shop, and that was gonna be his backyard where he would hold all the vehicles and store it and be secure, we probably wouldn't make you do
You
that.
probably wouldn't make him, but you probably would. I fought for 6 years for my stuff to change. And it had to be a serious fight to get it changed, so I can sell it and make money. I don't like it. I don't wanna force anybody to have access to the it's a tiny little piece. They have to have, it's gonna be, how wide is the lane? How wide is the access? How many ways? They have to go back and forth. Do you need a median? Do you need grass strips? What else do you need to get the access? I need more information.
And at this point, it's just if you wanted to add that as a condition to the rezone, so those are the things to consider as you're going forward with motions and things.
You don't have to add it as a condition, and the city council is going to make the decision for you.
Yeah.
So,
But just if you would like to, you can.
Yeah.
We'll see it the process.
And you're not necessarily adding as a condition, you're making a recommendation to council whether they would do so or not.
I don't wanna even make the recommendation to be considered. That's just,
I just wanna ask why from the city side you feel that access is needed?
and why wouldn't we go through the Honda, the already developed, the Monarch Honda?
I think the thought for us, we're just trying to centralize that connection. The thought that as this whole piece to the south develops, if someone purchases all those parcels, and there's gonna be something in there that allows everything to flow from the north down to the south, and they don't have to go to State Street, they don't have to necessarily go out and around. And it seemed like it was suited better to be right in the middle, it wasn't necessarily aiming them right at that the guy with the small parcel, it was just a function of having it in the middle so they could go ahead and disperse, because the problem with State Street is that there isn't really any interconnectivity. If you wanna go from one business to the other, you're having to go out to State Street and come around. There isn't necessarily a way for them to go from parking lot to parking lot, which is similar to versus parking. So that's the only thought. It had nothing to do with, we're trying to put a bigger burden on some, it's just, it was in the center of that parcel. If you guys are comfortable with how they had it on the other one, where it goes right into that building, that's fine. I think for us, the only thing is if you're gonna, if that's where it's gonna be provided, let's at least make it look like, hey, the intent is for it to connect, similar to what it did at Montalvo, because they actually built that, so people knew that that was the connection.
Yeah, and that's what Monarch built, they built that for a connection to go to the side street instead of State Street, and that's what they expected, also knowing the operators of Monarch. That's what they expected to happen when this get developed, this traffic to go right through that side. But that time, no Monarch Honda
Where they were showing.
in the south, in the southwest.
Bottom corner.
Southwest, yeah. That's what they expected for something to go through when this is developed, to go on the side entry and exit on a side street.
Northwest.
Yeah, on Fourth West, but the tiny body shop, if he wants to sell for somebody else with a different purpose, and second they find out they're forced to have an access to the new code, the price of the land goes down to half.
And I get,
That's just,
So
that's
it's gonna hurt, it could hurt both parties, is what you're saying.
what's gonna hurt the body shop. When I wanted to sell my property and it was legal non-conforming and it couldn't be it was just a mess for banking and loans and new buyers. I got offered way less because I had to conform to something new, not doing that to somebody else. So that's great to go from the side. Monarch really expected, it's not gonna reduce their land values or anything, but for that body shop, if he sells it to a candy shop and you wanna go to a candy store there, not a body shop, and redevelop it, tear down the building, put a new building, suddenly you have to have how wide that street have to be, how wide does access have to be, Sam? So you have 24 feet, gonna go through, do you see the entrance of that? You have to have 24 feet going all the way to State Street, from that property all the way to State Street. That will cut into the size of the property, into the value of that property. Not a good idea.
Well, the current proposal, that's battered women's shelter, right? So they're not gonna want through access anyway.
No,
Yeah, I was
are you
gonna ask-
talking 24 feet that there's going to be a road all across the
So you
side?
gotta cross you need to cross from that property to State Street, right?
so there'd have to be access.
So it has to go through access has to go through his entire property. to 800 North. It's gonna go from that property to 8 North.
Just an access point, it's not gonna be it's just gonna be an access to those lots for.
You really have to own a piece of property on State Street and try to see how much your value is gonna hurt with the city doing something to you to get it.
Can I make a comment for
Yeah.
the buyer of this parcel? That's the shelter.
Yeah.
I mean, a secure part of the shelter. And so it makes it, that's why the access was shifted to where it was shifted to. Because if you go to the other proposed location, it's right where the shelter.
So this was the old one?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's the old one.
process.
And see, and I was gonna ask that same question with the current, I know it's preliminary, but with the current proposal of what's going there, how would you even put access next to the fenced in
Yeah,
property?
it makes
That's,
it really tough for us to put it right where the shelter is, because the shelter's gotta be a secure facility.
right,
You
yeah.
don't want access right there. We're supposed
So
to be
we're
the
all
same-
aligned. Yeah, we're just trying to understand why they're asking the proposal.
The through route, how do you get something on that?
Thank you, Jason. Yeah, we just
Yeah,
want to
this
make sure you
was
guys
opening
consider.
up
it.
the space.
This was
Okay,
Sounds like-
what, this is what staff.
okay.
Sounds like no one loves it.
Any other questions on this or?
Any other issues on this, or are we pretty well versed if we move on to the next item?
I don't think I'm that old, honestly.
Oh, I was just gonna ask on the change to the C3,
Yes.
can it be conditional like palliative? Like we do with palliative care, or does it have to be inclusive for everything?
It's C3 pretty much already,
Right.
except for that little strip at the bottom. So saying C3 just makes that whole half.
So it's making
Well, what I
it
mean
permitted
is the
use
change
instead of-
is becomes
Oh,
approval based, not,
we only give this.
not anybody can just put it in whenever. Just like the palliative care.
Oh,
you
are
had to
you
get
saying that
approval
it's
to
a
put it in.
conditional use as opposed to
I
a
was
allowed?
just wondering.
I used to.
They still have to go through the process, because any place that they change it, it's C3, to get that use.
So they'd still have to have
They
authorization.
have, they still have to go to site plan and go to the secure use, so if they went into shop, they'll say, that was retail, now they're changing it to a shelter, you know, to the site plan.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll come back.
I just didn't think it would be good to be wide open for that type of thing, just anywhere there's a C3.
Yeah, C3 is pretty much it anyway.
Yeah, okay.
All right, so our next item is a Maverick on 800 North at approximately 85 West. This is the location. There's currently a smaller Maverick convenience store here with the pumps and a car wash. And it is in the C2 zone. They are purchasing both, well, the lot that they've done already and combining it into one lot. And this is their demolition plan. They're tearing down, hoping to tear down the car wash and the current Maverick convenience store and pump stations. And then to rebuild the Maverick convenience store further to the east on the lot. Approximately kind of where that car wash was, and then put in the new fuel base.
How am I supposed to wash my boat?
That's quite heavy.
That's where I wash my boat.
And this, it's a little easier to see it on the landscape plan, because there's a few less lines. So this is what it's looking like. The exterior elevations will be what we are familiar with on Mavericks. Same kind of colors and stone and the like vertical siding panels. Here's what it currently looks like. Yeah, any questions about this one in particular?
Seems pretty straightforward.
Yeah, it's a pretty straightforward site plan, I think, especially where there's already a Maverick there, there's
Yeah.
no bigger.
And we have plenty of car washes, so I don't think we're missing out.
That's true. We don't have plenty of freestanding ones. They're automated, yeah,
Sweet.
and they don't fit those.
No, I think that's it. But no, just as a follow-up to last night, kind of there's been some conversations going on about the transportation master plan. I would propose that the next step for the planning commission be that we start a list of the projects that we have questions about or want to discuss further for the project, and maybe we could email thread of listing those together so that we can, when we have an opportunity to speak together, we can actually go through some of those items and actually dig into them and see what we want on the transportation plan or not.
We want that, where's the train?
We can right now if you want to.
So Attorney McGinn, we would like to have a meeting of the planning commission noticed, where it's just the 7 of us talk together. And we would like to know what are the rules for that. Obviously, we have to schedule it. Do we need an attorney present? Can the 7 of us just meet? Could you enlighten us?
Can we meet privately or does it have to be public?
Oh, it's a public meeting.
Yeah, it has to be a
If
public.
you have a quorum, it's a public meeting.
But no, but it doesn't have to be a public forum. We don't have to let anyone speak, correct?
No, it doesn't have to be a public hearing, but it does have to be a public meeting.
Which means it would be broadcasted like we are broadcasting tonight.
Right. But do we need anyone else with us? Like, do we need a city attorney with us?
I would treat it like a normal meeting. Because it is a normal meeting. It is a meeting of the planning commission. And if it's routine to have city staff there, then city staff should be there. Because it'll need to be noticed, you'll have to have an agenda, and all of those things. And the danger of an email thread is that can be a public meeting, where you're all getting information back and that's private, and the public can't see what you're talking about or the issues you're talking about back and forth. So I think if you want to have a meeting like that, probably the best way to go about it is to go ahead and schedule at, say, your next planning commission meeting, a pre-meeting where you would come in and have as a discussion item, a discussion about a special meeting where you could come in and talk in the different items that you plan on talking about. And at that meeting, you can't make any final decisions or formal recommendations, but you can certainly talk about whatever it is that you would want to talk about, as long as the normal noticing rules apply, the public's invited, there's public notice. And the public notice that we need for something like that is technically 24 hours, but it should follow the normal city noticing practices.
I don't think anything we want to say is private. It's just more to get into details rather than be focused on, some of this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Day-to-day business, but an overall plan, so similar to last night.
Could we also extend the pre-meeting that we do?
So we can start at 3 o'clock, 30.
Well, some of us work. Could we do it after this meeting? And we'll for those
We have a social meeting.
Haysom? Madeline?
But that's why I was gonna ask the same thing about after. That if we were doing a specific one just to go with the transportation master plan and we want time, that could we notice it for after our meeting?
Yes, you can notice it for after. That does create a little bit of a difficulty of when does the meeting start? Because if you say it's after this meeting, it's, well, when does that meeting end and your next meeting start? So if you can put some parameters around it and say you're gonna start at, whatever time it is, which actually can be good because then that can put parameters around the previous meeting that you need to stay on task so that you can get things done. And so like this meeting typically has started at 3:30. And
that was actually a question I had for you. We keep bouncing it back and forth, and I think the commission, I was gonna ask y'all, that was actually the next question I was gonna ask them. If it would be possible to always start it at 3:30. So we had time to discuss, because one of the problems we keep having, that there's some other issues that we're never getting, the 7 of us can talk about. That we get our presentations, which we appreciate, and then we're like the meeting, but like the transportation master plan, we've had some other ones in the past where we need to talk, we need to get our ducks in a row and have our discussions. But we don't feel like there's adequate time. And so we were wondering about, how do people feel about that? Like,
Well, that's been the standard meeting time. Anything other than that has been an exception. So that's what I plan on anyway, is this 3:30.
yeah, same here.
this doesn't need to be technically a separate meeting. you can on the planning commission meeting, notice up like the last item on the, like tonight, it could be noticed as the last item on the agenda, a planning commission discussion. So your meeting would start at 4:30 technically, and you just go through the items like you normally would. And the last item might be a discussion of, the first one might be a discussion of items that the planning commission would like to talk about. And there's value in doing that because you want to talk about issues that you are seeing coming up, not with the pressure of the specific context of a project
Exactly.
putting pressure on you.
Yes.
And so to have that kind of in I don't want to say theoretical, but that type of discussion without the pressure of a specific project. You know, so tonight to talk, if you want to talk about access easements and why it might make sense to have cross easements for one separately owned project with another separately owned project where they can cross through as opposed to, oh, now I've got to go out to an access here, drive around the block to go to the restaurant here when I was just shop, you know, and some of the good things about that, some of the bad things about that, how that might look, that could be a good thing to do and spend some time without a specific project going, hold it. That's a problem for me in this specific context.
Speaking of specifics, how specific does the agenda need to be in terms of addressing what's to be talked about?
It can be fairly vague as long as it puts people on notice, because if it is, the next item would be planning commission that wants to have a discussion about important development topics that need further in-depth discussion among the planning commission. Well, you've just put people on notice, hey, you know, maybe watch this meeting and you can see some of the things that are of concern to the planning commission to be able to deal with. And I know last meeting we had a brief discussion about maybe meeting with the council and planning commission. And that's a good thing if it's done in the right context. It's not a good thing to have a meeting. Well, the system's designed for the planning commission to give recommendations to the council, not for the council to telegraph issues and how they would like to see them resolved to the planning commission. But to get together jointly to maybe talk about what are some of the types of issues that are important we need to look at is good.
Thank you. We're gonna drink the other.
Hey, I'm Gary.
You're an Ashton. Yeah, you don't look like an Irish.
You need to expand your
You look more like an
concept
Italian.
of Irish.
McGinn, MCGIN.
MCGI.
Yeah, it's been busy.
Well, originally Tullamore.
Yeah. Do you have connections?
Yeah.
What part of Ireland?
Well, actually, what is it? About
Do, 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 do.
Testing.
Okay, we're ready to call this meeting to order. We will start with an invocation by Mike.
Our Father in heaven, we thank you for the opportunity to gather as a commission, and we ask that thy spirit dwell with us and give us insight, and that we might do the proper business of the city and make mindful decisions and that are most beneficial for the residents of this town. We thank you for this town and this nation and all the blessings we've received, and we say these things humbly in the name of thy son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
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 All right. We'll begin with item 3.1.
All right, item 3.1 is the 800 North and State Street rezone. This is a public hearing to amend Article 2253A and the zoning map by rezoning portions of the property, those front 3 lots, to C2 and the full back lot to the west of the property to C3, and to allow the land use code for transitional treatment homes as a permitted use in the C3 zone. Here is the vicinity map of the property, as well as the current zoning, which shows the 1 lot at the southeast corner that has already been rezoned to C2. And here's their concept plan with the 3 lots on the front and then the 1 lot to the west. Current zoning, again, a little bit easier to see. And then this is the new proposed zoning, again, showing those 3 lots that front State Street to be C2 and the rear lot back along 400 West, I believe, to be C3. As well as here is adding the transitional treatment home use to the C3 zone. And for reference, here are the other areas of the city that currently have C3 zoning, and this use would be allowed in those areas as well. We had a brief discussion about the cross accesses. This is just for reference on what's on their current concept plan versus what was on a previous concept plan, which could potentially lead to access to those southern properties should they be bought and redeveloped. It's just something to think about. And then here are the street views from 400 West as well as State Street. It's currently a vacant lot. And staff recommends the Planning Commission consider a recommendation to the City Council. Do you have any questions for us?
Commission, any questions?
I have one, just on this page, we say State Street to either the C2 or the C3. Do we need any clarity to make sure that the one is C2 and the other is C3, not either or?
Gary?
Well,
Use your mic, please.
can we go back? Yeah, I mean, the picture makes it clear, but I just wanted to make sure the text doesn't create ambiguity from the picture.
Well, what the text does is the noticing that goes on for the rezone, and the rezone will have a legal description that goes with it that defines it. So it's putting people on notice that in this area, some of the properties within that area, they could be rezoned to C3 or C2. And so the actual where it ends up will be specifically defined by a typically Exhibit A or B that shows where it is. That language that you see there is for noticing purposes only, to put the people on notice that it could be C3 or C2.
Makes sense.
Anything else? Would the applicant like to add anything?
We discussed it last meeting. If there's any questions, go ahead.
How
Yes,
can
sir.
we, how can we go back to the previous picture? No, the one, how can we clarify that the access would be on the farthest southwest instead of the central of the property? Can we change language, or how can we recommend that? This is the current concept.
This
Yeah,
the
this
current
is
And
the
the
current
previous one
concept
is not
plan.
going to be considered at
Yeah.
all.
They were just asking if we'd be willing to add that. And
Okay.
am I speaking out of turn that we're not going to add
No,
that?
you're not speaking out of turn.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
this is
we're
the
not
current
considering that.
concept plan that you see right now with that access on the west side.
Okay.
Okay, Mary? You're flashing. Are you good? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry. Okay.
It's a
Do we need
public
any
hearing?
further, what?
Is it a public? Yeah, no.
Oh, yes, it is a public hearing. Thank you. But I was asking if there's any further questions. Okay. Then since this is a public hearing, we will open the meeting for the public to come forward and speak if there's anything. And since no one's coming forward, we'll close the public hearing and we'll move to motion.
Sure, I'll move. I move that we recommend the city council amend Article 2253A in the zoning map of the city of Orem by rezoning portions of the property located generally at 883 North State Street to either the C2 zone or the C3 zone, and to allow SLU code 1283 transitional treatment homes as a permitted use in the C3 zone.
Second.
Second.
Okay. All right.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Thank you. Item 3.2.
All right, item 3.2 is the Maverick on 800 North. It is a site plan. This is also a public hearing for the approval of the site plan for Maverick located at 85 West, 800 North in the C2 zone. Here's the vicinity map. The property right here is currently a Maverick convenience store and fuel pumps, and this is currently a car wash. Maverick is proposing to purchase both those purchase the property they don't currently own and combine it all into one lot, and then to remove all of the existing structures on the site and then build a new Maverick convenience store in the southeast corner with new fuel pumps in front. Here's the landscape plan. It is significantly easier to see on here with less lines. And then the elevations of the building will be what we are familiar with for Mavericks: board and batten siding, stone, a little bit of metal, kind of tan and red colors. And this is what it currently looks like from 800 North. And staff recommends the planning commission approve the site plan. Do you have any questions for us?
I just had one question. What is going on the little corner that is south? Oh, which direction? I don't know. Next to the convenience store. Is that just a parking lot? Yeah. What is that?
So those are the parking spots.
So
down
there's
here?
parking spots in front and there's a kind of a parking lot on the side of the
Yes,
convenience
so they
store.
have parking stalls on the north side and on the west side, and then this is their dumpster enclosure that I'm circling right
Okay.
here. Yeah.
So it's a good space.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Any other questions? And I don't believe the applicant made it, so.
No, I believe he was stuck in traffic. So,
Yeah, so then you have a question? Or no? Okay, I was going to move on to the public hearing. So this is a public hearing, so I will open the public hearing and invite those who want to come forward. And I will close the public hearing and move on to motion.
I motion that we recommend to the planning commission that we approve the site plan for Maverick located at 85 West, 800 North in the C2 zone.
I second it.
Jerry. Oh, did the applicant show? Are you the applicant, sir? Oh, sorry. No worries. Okay. Should we go ahead and vote then? Mike?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Meeting minutes, review the meeting minutes. They all look good? Okay. Motion for the meeting minutes?
Make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from May 17th, 2023 meeting.
I second the motion.
Okay.
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay. And since Ryan's not here, we will move on and we'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Oh,
Medicom, yes, of course.
I guess, yes. Yeah.
As a member of the community, Mr. Hawks, congratulations on your birthday.
Well, you're very kind, all of you. Thank you for being so kind.
And I know the people in the city council sometimes be accused of being pigs, but normally, traditionally, when the people bring cookies in for someone's birthday,
Yeah.
they take all the extra cookies home.
Oh, my gosh.
So I'm just pointing that out. If there's any extra cookies, I would suggest that.
Well, I was a pig with the one I ate.
Madam Chair.
Anyway, congratulations. Thank you for all your.
Oh, thank you for being so kind, all of you.
Yeah.
You're marvelous people. I'm very impressed and honored to be associated with such an outstanding group of people, and I sincerely mean that.
Thank you. We're grateful to have you too. Oh, are you the applicant?
I'm sorry?
Were you here for the Maverick?
No.
Oh,
I was here for the property, like 1,000 North State Street.
okay.
Wasn't that scheduled for this?
It
Yeah.
was, and we have
Yes.
already done that item and voted on it.
Mind just give me a 30-second?
Let me ask the attorney to make sure I'm good. Can I open it back up?
Yes, you can open it up.
Okay, yeah, I will reopen that portion of the public hearing so you may come and speak. And do we have the mic plugged in? Okay, yeah, you may come speak. And please state your name before you make your comments. Thanks.
My name is Chris Dowling, and my wife has a business adjacent to that property on State Street, the Dance Club.
Don't you go by Cosmo?
I'm a former Cosmo, yes. Yeah, so if you wouldn't mind just giving me a 30-second summary. I'm sorry I'm late.
Where's the dance club? Is it next to the Jiffy Lube? Or
No.
The south or the
It's-
north?
It's
Another-
983. It's actually behind the Wendy's.
Behind the Wendy's, yeah.
Wendy's? There's a Wendy's over there?
It's further.
It's further north.
Oh,
98
oh, clear up the road.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
983.
I know
North
where it
State.
is now.
Okay.
Yeah. Michaela, could you give a brief, what's going on with the property?
The applicant has, let me get us to the concept plan here. The applicant has requested to rezone the west portion of the lot to be completely C3, and that would all be one lot with a Women and Children's Crisis Center. And then the portion that fronts onto State Street would be divided into 3 lots. The northernmost two to be restaurants with drive-throughs, and the southernmost one to be a car wash. It's currently what it is. So this is what the zoning would look like according to the proposed changes.
And the purple is a crisis center, did you say?
Yes. So this kind of pink purple color is the C3 zone. And that is where the Women and Children's Crisis Center would be
Okay.
located, with a little bit of office space that's associated with the same
And
business.
the pink, the 3 on the right are,
These 2 would be restaurants. So there's one up there and then a smaller one here. And then this is a car wash.
okay,
Mhm.
okay.
Proposal.
Thank
Does that help?
you.
You're
Yeah,
welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for coming. All right. Motion to adjourn now.
So moved.
Okay. Do we need to vote or not? Yeah, Mike?
Aye.
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 Meeting adjourned.
Just a
You guys going to the open house tonight? The Charter County Hospital. So they're doing one of the open houses for the rezoning for, they want to put, I think it's at 7. Huh? I was just wondering if you guys were going. What do you want to do? Oh, they want to
Do they, why do they have?
They're residential right now. So you're walking in. The extra minute, I don't think you're allowed to space.
Where exactly is this? Where exactly is it?